Honored, and I am the Grassroots Fundraising Coordinator for the Network La Red. In 2010, Ayanna Pressley became the first woman of color to serve in the 100-year history of the Boston City Council. Councilor Pressley Councilor Pressley formed and currently chairs a new standing committee, the Committee on Women and Healthy Communities. The committee is devoted to the causes that she has always been most devoted to: stabilizing families and communities, reducing and preventing violence and trauma, and combating poverty. In addition to her work in government, Councilor Pressley is also an active leader in the nonprofit community on issues related to women and girls, civic engagement, and diversifying the political pipeline. Her work with young people on violence prevention has earned her national acclaim. She has been recognized by Ebony Magazine, The Root, the Boston Globe, NARAL Pro-Choice Massachusetts, Big Sisters of Greater Boston, and others as an emerging leader with vision and values. Please welcome Boston City Councilor Ayanna Pressley.
Thank you and good evening. I want to be careful with this mic. Are we good? I want to blow your ears out here. Okay. I'm taking a moment to collect myself. That was a very powerful video and very brave. And I've always maintained that statistics don't move the needle. They don't advance the dialogue. They don't advance us as a society. What moves the needle, what advances the dialogue, what moves us to a place of real change are stories, because they are powerful. So I want a world where we acknowledge that there is a world of hurt out there, and that we are committed to doing the work together to foster a world of healing. Are you all ready to make history this evening? Now, I would say I want a world where Carl Sciortino and Network La Red and Jane Doe lead the way, but they're already doing that. So instead I'll say, I'm grateful I live in that world. Can we hand clap on that? So again, my name is Ayanna Pressley. Since 2009, I've had the honor of serving as one of your 4 at-large Boston City Councilors, working every day to break cycles of poverty and violence and to reduce trauma in our communities. I'm also the founder and chair of the Committee on Healthy Women, Families, and Communities. I created that committee to underscore that the health of the individual, the family, and the community are inextricably linked. We cannot be a strong city without healthy communities. And so much of what is critically necessary for us to be healthy communities are healthy relationships. Which is why, in partnership with many of you in this room, I worked for 3 years to see a comprehensive sex and health education curriculum, including increased access to condoms, adopted as a part of the Boston Public Schools wellness curriculum. Of that curriculum was relationships, because we have seen an increase in intimate partner violence amongst our teens. It has been my challenge in doing this work my challenge and my personal charge to diversify the public discourse and the political narrative when talking about violence. Very often we are only talking about youth and street violence, which does not tell the whole story. Violence begets violence. We live in a violent world. We are consumers of violence. We are witnesses to violence. We are victims of violence. And I've been really doing my best to spark a word revolution, insisting that when we say as people in the peace movement that we want peace, that we are committed to ending violence in all forms. And that advocacy, or that action, must first begin with advocacy. And that advocacy begins by naming that issue. And by naming and including every community. So please, I'm enlisting you in this word revolution movement. The next time someone says that they want to see peace, that they want to see an end to youth and street violence, challenge them to name and include in their activism and advocacy domestic and sexual violence. It is very appropriate that we would be here today when we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. This is a civil right. To be safe in your person. You shouldn't have to hope that you won't be violated, assaulted, reduced, or minimized in such a way. This isn't abstract for me. I am a survivor of sexual violence. My mother was a survivor of domestic violence. I know the isolation, the shame, and the self-loathing. This is a vile crime, both domestic and sexual violence, that does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. And so it is time that we have an equity in our outrage, and an equity in our education, and an equity in our intervention. In this Commonwealth, we fought to send a strong message that love is love. You can love who you want. You can marry who you want. But if love is love, then pain is pain. And without meaning to do it, we have excluded the LGBTQ community in our advocacy because we haven't named them. That's where the fight begins. And so I just want to thank all of the partners here for being here today, to enlist us in this movement and to challenge us to do better. Without meaning to, sometimes we can create hierarchies of pain and hierarchies of value, but everyone matters. And so I'll end where I began. I want a world. I want a world where we acknowledge that there is a world of hurt and that we are committed to doing the work so that we can be a world of healing. And I thank you.
All right.
To introduce anyone or anything like that, so I'm just going to filibuster. Well, I won't stay here too long, but what I will do is employ some elected privilege, and I want to acknowledge Attorney General candidate Maura Healey in the room. And thank her. And now I'll exit.
Well, who wants to follow that, okay? I'm Terry Person. I'm the Special Projects Manager at Jane Doe, and I have the privilege of introducing our next speaker. Carl Sciortino has been a major leader and advocate when it comes to the rights, health, and safety of the LGBTQ community and beyond. Before his current role as the Executive Director of the AIDS Action Committee, Carl was a state representative in the Massachusetts legislature. There, he was the leading legislative advocate on HIV-related legislation. These include measures to increase funding for HIV-related services, a bill that will require health insurers to cover the costs of treatment of lipodystrophy, and a law that expands HIV testing in Massachusetts. Carl has championed social justice issues throughout his career, including the right of same-sex couples to marry, banning discrimination against transgender people, expanding access to health care, and increasing resources for anti-poverty programs. Welcome, Carl.
Good evening. Well, I've been in the position of running AIDS Action Committee for just about 3 months. And I want to tell you that 2 weeks ago I stood on the stage of the Hatch Shell by the Esplanade for the 29th annual AIDS Walk. And I was sitting next to the head of the Boston Pride Committee, Sylvain Bruni, and I said to him, next year is the 30th walk, the 30th AIDS Walk in Boston's history. And he said, interesting, next year is the 45th Pride March. We should do something together. We had an interesting moment of synergy in talking about our community's history and how far we've come and what kind of progress we've made in the last 30 and 45 years. When I think about what kind of world I want a world where we don't have to have marches and parades anymore. I really do. And the reason when I think about why AIDS Action should be at this table in this conversation, to me the connection between domestic violence and sexual violence, HIV and AIDS issues, and LGBT equality across the board, the connection to me in those issues is an issue of shame. And how shame tells us we are not worthy. And shame tells us we are not good enough to have loving relationships. And shame tells us that when we are violated or assaulted, that we don't have the same rights and protections in society. And sometimes that shame keeps us from advocating for ourselves. So when I think about the world that I want a world free of shame. I want a world where the survivors of violence of all kinds have the support and the services, but at their core, they have the wherewithal to know that they are loved and they are human beings with the same dignity and equality as everybody else in society. We are looking for full equality. That yes means the right to get married. That yes means the right to have a job without discrimination or housing without discrimination. But it also means that when we walk down the street and someone calls us a name, or we're in a relationship where our partner violates our trust through physical, emotional, or sexual assault, that we know at our core that the shame we've been told we should experience for our entire lives is a lie, because we are equal. So when I think about this day, I want to I remember when I was in the state legislature working on the issue of transgender equality, and some of our opponents decided to exploit the issue of violence against women and children to try to deny the transgender community full equality. And I thought, what an exact moment to educate our community, our legislators, our friends and family, about how violence takes all kinds of forms. And one of the most basic, crude kinds of violence is to deny someone the very right to equality. So I want to applaud Jane Doe, and I want to applaud the Network Lored for bringing us here together to have this moment, and not just this moment, but this launch of an opportunity to say, we will have a world free of shame. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much. My name is Tony Troop, and I have the honor of being the Director of Communications at Jane Doe Inc. And about 2 years ago, we started a conversation with the Network Red about what role the coalition could play to help raise the visibility and engage more people in this conversation. And so we talked for a year, maybe more. Not that we process a lot or anything, and tried to think about what could we do together, collectively, that would help move the needle in a couple of different ways. One way is about moving individuals' understanding and communities' understanding of domestic and sexual violence. The other is about moving the programs within Jane Doe to open up and provide more culturally appropriate services. The other is to engage other systems and services, out there. And we thought, well, we can do that in a lot of different ways, but if we're just talking to each other, that's only part of the battle. So we wanted to do something public. So we came up with this idea of a social media campaign. Now, we've all seen them in different, fashions and forms, but with your help, we're gonna make this one take off and take off big, but we need your help. So, here's the scoop. Outside this door, there's a I Want a World banner with sheets that say, cleverly enough, I want a world. And you get to complete that phrase, as you've heard our other speakers before and as you will hear others say, in whatever way has meaning for you in relationship to this issue, or just as you're thinking about creating a world generally about violence, about ending violence. So we want you to add your message there. If you don't want to do it today, you want to think about it, go home and you'll go to our website, iwantaworld.janedoe.org, and you can download one of these Word documents, write it yourself, take a picture. If you're one of those people, and we have had many of them who don't want to show their picture, you can just write it on a piece of paper and just take a picture yourself. We started to debut this campaign a couple of weeks ago, first at Summerfests in Somerville, when we were out there on a hot June 1st day. Then we were also at Boston Pride, and more people participated and have started to share their vision of the world. And this is what we're hoping that you will do, is that you will not only go back, either today, tonight, you can either go there and make a sign, or Quinn, Maya, Katie, I'm not sure who else is helping in the room, right over there to the left, you can make your own little video. We have a video camera set up, and you can do it right then and there. And we will tape it for you. You can do it again and again until you get it right. And then we will edit minimally and get it up on YouTube for to be able to share that message with everybody. So please take a moment before you leave tonight to go fill out a sign, make a video, participate, and then go and follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, where we will be posting these over the next couple of months, and also inviting others to do the same. So by your following us and helping to spread the word, we will reach more and more people. That's the way this works. You know that, but we want to ask you to really jump on board and make that happen. One other thing I think I'm supposed to say programmatically, then I'm forgetting. So, it's okay. That seems to be the day. I kept writing Craig. And one more thing can you bring? And forgot one more thing. So the next piece of my opportunity, but she there, okay, is to I'll talk very slowly because I think Irene went to go get some more water. So I'll dance. You don't really want me to sing, dancing maybe, singing. Okay, sorry, but so it is my pleasure to introduce the Reverend Irene Monroe. She has been a voice in the LGBTQ community for many years. As an African-American lesbian feminist theologian, she speaks out for a sector of society who is frequently invisible. You may have read her words in Bay Windows or seen her Huffington Post columns where she's a frequent blogger. Everything I've read by her just resonates to the core. She puts words to our lives. She talks about the intersection of oppressions, the realities of the challenges that we face and the people we hope to be and the people we can be and we aspire to be. She's founded too many groups to name that makes my head spin, so you can read the bio online. She hesitated for a split second only to say, let me check my schedule. But once we cleared that up, she readily agreed to be here tonight. We thank her so much, the Reverend Irene Monroe.